Yeah, I've spent 25 of my 30 working years designing and delivering transformational strategies with large corporations. So the first decade I spent on the front line in engineering and line management. Then I spent almost a dozen years at Accenture, all over the world in the BPO space. In the last decade, I've worked for 3 companies on 2 continents, leading transformation at the enterprise level. I started working in the early 90s and was almost immediately exposed to Lean and Six Sigma. So taking an evidence-based approach to decision making and weaving analytics into operations, whether it's back office operations or sales operations, has been something that's been sort of a golden thread throughout my career. So an interest in data science today, given the advancement of technologies, is just a natural extension of that. The study last year by Gartner that highlights 81% of organizations will mainly compete on customer experience in the next 2 years, but conversely, only 22% of them say that their current experience is actually exceeding expectations. So that's a gap that needs to be closed. Now, in terms of trends and technologies, we've got AI and machine learning, we've got big data, we've got a lot of technologies and methods converging in the space, which is actually making it quite hard for many organizations to translate that promise and those capabilities into tangible outcomes. But in the space of customer experience, we see a lot of organizations are also on the forefront of that, whether it's using AI as a coaching model for contact agents in a contact center where you've got AI running in the background. And I've actually used that in 2 different ways. One, in real-time monitoring as a way to detect, for example, vulnerability in the customer, right? Which could pop an alert to an agent that would trigger a different conversation. It could also be used to monitor the agent's quality and then bring behind that sort of the human coaching element where the AI would measure everything from language, pace, sentiment, and tone, and provide those insights to the human coach that can then coach the agent. So that's one example where I'm seeing a lot of use of AI on a very practical basis at quite a large scale. I actually don't think about it as digital transformation. I know digital transformations, all over the web and it's buzzy, but you're not actually transforming digital capabilities, you're transforming the business, right? So I personally subscribe to, we should be transforming the experience for the employee, for the customer, for anyone involved in the interaction. And digital is just a way in which we do that. But I set digital in the context of experience versus setting experience in the context of digital, right? I find that many organizations are leading with digital transformation. And what they really mean to do is reinvent the experience or reinvent how their business operates, whether it's going to market with a new business model, or it's automating some of the back-end processes that are just manually intensive to reduce customer friction. It really is about transforming the experience, and everything else sits within the context of that. In terms of data science, one of the big things that I'm striving to do with the organizations that I work with is close the divide between the data science team that sits somewhere in a smoke-filled room and the actual people closer to the front line of the change efforts. So really try to integrate the data scientist in an agile organization, for example, putting data scientists into the actual Scrum teams. So you've got a multi-dimensional or cross-functional team that includes data science. Short of that, organizations need to take efforts to democratize their data and make sure that the people doing the work, trying to understand the trends, trying to have empathy for the employees and the customers as they think about solving problems and opportunities, need to have access to that data, right? So the days of making requests to an IT team or a data science team and in a few days' time getting a response back, that's too slow, too disintegrated, too disconnected. Those things have to be joined together. So for me, the technologies actually come second, right? We need the technologies to bring the data together. We need analytic platforms and visualization platforms. But the biggest barrier in my line of sight is actually access to the data and access to the people that have the skills to convert that data into insights and ultimately lead to the right action. Everything starts with purpose and then vision and then outcomes. And then we work backwards from there, right? Which is ironically not how, many organizations actually approach strategic level change. But I get back to, in the context of experience, what are we actually trying to do, right? Yeah, we're trying to grow the business. Yeah, we're trying to increase loyalty and engagement. And perhaps net promoter scores or CSAT or other measures. But when you get inside of that, right, we're trying to make the experience more personal. We're trying to make the experience more relevant. And we're trying to reduce friction from the process of the interaction, right? Whether it's discovering needs and options, whether it's making a purchase or onboarding to a new organization, or whether it's leaving and taking the business elsewhere. Right? It's about being relevant, personal, and frictionless. I kind of separate trends into two baskets, right? You've got the technology trends, which are driving almost a whole new, industry. If you go look at any major university now, you've got degrees in data science, you've got executive education programs. So the whole field is just exponential at the moment, right? And you can go do a quick Google search and you can get all kind of technology trends. And I read one yesterday, it's the end of the dashboard. And now we're going to be dealing with, real-time narratives and stories, that the data creates. But I also look at trends on, the business strategy side. So what does all this mean, right? And what should we focus on with all this data? And I boil it down to really a couple of simple things, right? And I'm always going back to the experience, because for me, the culmination of my 25, 30 years of work experience is now all this Lean and Six Sigma is really manifesting itself into the experience space, right? Operational excellence is great. You need to have that, but it really is around the interaction. So for me, trends seem to coalesce around knowing your customer. Where are they? Where have they been? And where are they going, right? And using that information to bring to that customer, whether it's, native digital or whether it's through, a human or a virtual channel, is what is the next best action for you as the customer as you interact with my organization or with my organization as part of a broader ecosystem, right? And when you think about bringing together all the different data sources, whether it's public data, private data, an amalgamation of the two, whether it's social data, contact history, interaction history, channel history, it's bringing all that data together to create greater empathy for your customer. And with that understanding, and the insights that come from that, really teeing up the next best action for that customer. And that may be a trigger-based offer, that may be a real-time alert, or that may be a simple follow-up. Hey, we saw that you were on the website, and you were interested in this, you may have started an application or you put a few things in the shopping cart. We want to let you know those things are still here if you have any questions, or whether it's recommending another product, right? Customers who bought this also purchased this, or those who read this are also interested in this, right? So it's prompting that action and that decision to me, which is at the forefront, and all those trends are sort of pointing to how do we get more effective at that? And how do we turn that into a greater experience, less friction, greater seamlessness, and ultimately a stronger connection to the customer, which ultimately leads to revenue growth. I was watching an interview with the outgoing chairman and CEO of IBM, and she was saying that in the next decade, the commercialization of AI is going to fundamentally reshape almost every industry on the planet, right? So I don't know how we don't get excited about the possibilities and opportunities therein. Second to that, I am just fascinated by computer vision and how that's going to lead to brand new experiences in the VR and AR space. So I think both of those areas are going to emerge as real game changers in the industry. So we should do our best to stay on the forefront of those technologies and those use cases, as we apply those technologies to make experiences better, right? That's what we're all about. I'm going to talk about data science and customer experience, right? And how to really, bridge the gap within an organization, right? How do you bring the power of data science into the front line of business transformation or CX transformation, right? How do you do that? What are the questions you need to ask? What are the mindsets and models that underpin that, right? So that's going to be the space that I explore in the summit. And I'll be speaking for about 30 minutes. And I very much look forward to, not just sharing a perspective with the audience, but actually listening to the other speakers. It's going to be a very exciting summit.